I'm about to pay off two more by the end of next week. And I'm very excited about that. And that's part of rebuilding your life at 41 years old is paying off debt and um, doing some other things. But what I really want to talk about today was our golden era. Everybody talks about the nuclear family of the 1950s, the hippie era of the 1960s, the baby boomers. I was thinking about it today, early this morning. I was flipping through TikTok while I was loading some videos because, as you know, if you don't know, when you actually put stuff on TikTok, good morning, Skylar. When you put things on TikTok, while it uploads, you have to basically scroll through or just put the phone down. So I decided for once to kind of scroll through. And for some odd reason, the algorithm has been showing me a lot of stuff from the 1990s, the era I grew up in as a kid and as a teenager. So I was born in 1984. So technically, uh, I'm Generation X. And some people consider me a millennial, but I more identify with Generation X, and most of the folks that are around my age, 41 to 45, all identify as Generation X because we grew up in elementary school, right before elementary school in the 80s. And the 80s was great. You had Billy Idol, you had, but that's not stuff I really grew up with. What I grew up with really was in the 90s. And when I look back at it, it was really the golden era of the United States of America. It was more of the golden era than anything prior. It was more, but to me, it was better than the nuclear family age, the hippie age, the baby boomer age, because you had essentially five generations that were bonded together by amazing stuff. We had the internet still, we had AOL, we had instant messenger with AOL to communicate with every one of our friends across the world. We had chat rooms. We had the ability to download music. We had the ability to play video games with our friends on the computer. It wasn't what it is today where all the graphics are all like realistic. It was very pixelized. I'm playing Super Nintendo now on this big screen TV, and it's all pixelized, but I'm playing like Zelda Link to the Past, and I'm playing Super Mario Brothers and Mega Man on this TV, and it just reminded me, like, even though the games are easier than they were when I was a kid, because obviously memory, but at the same time, it's like you didn't sit there for hours playing one game. You played for an hour or two, and then you went outside and played basketball, rode your bike, enjoyed time with your friends. And that kind of nostalgia can be a little dangerous because that nostalgia can also bloom into some people feeling like it's depressing what we're going through now. But it's not. It should be a reminder of why we should raise our kids the way we were raised. We should raise our grandkids the way we were raised. And get rid of these kids having cell phones all the time. I'm just so glad that my kid's mom limits my kids' time on the phone. Realistically, outside of calling me or texting me, since they're in Oregon and I'm in California, outside of that dynamic, they really only use their phones to record and make videos. And stuff we used to do with a little camcorder, a little digital camcorder, a little friggin', big ass tape recorder. Stuff we used to do, like when I used to skateboard like Tony Hawk back in the day, except I wasn't as good as Tony Hawk, but we used to video ourselves at skate parks and doing all that. And when I see these things happening that we used to do as kids start happening again, because I'm slowly starting to see some of the stuff we used to do in the mid 90s and the late 80s starting to make a comeback with the younger generation, I'm starting to realize that some of this new generation, some of these kids that are under 25 years old, you know, are starting to think more like we did. And I think we don't realize that. We were rebels, okay? We were rebels against the establishment in the 90s. Like, we hated anybody that represented the establishment. And that nostalgia, I believe, is why a lot of us that are both young and old have welcomed back a more conservative political view across the world. Not just in the United States, but if you look at the world has shifted more politically conservative, because even though Bill Clinton and George Bush and Ronald Reagan all were presidents in a mixture of moderate and Democrat and Republican, we were more reined in politically in the 90s. We weren't at each other's throats trying to nuke each other to death. And we're starting to see in the news, especially like CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and all these places, we're starting to see people less and less watch those things because they've gotten so bad. They've gotten so just out of control that you're starting to see more people look towards podcasts and radio shows like we used to in the 90s. Howard Stern was huge for me in the 90s. Yeah, very politically left, but he was hilarious and just didn't have a filter, right? You had a bunch of guys that were conservative radio hosts and liberal radio hosts back in the 1990s that weren't trying to tell each other, hate each other. They were anti-establishment or anti-big government. If you actually look at most of the liberals and liberal politicians and the conservative politicians in the 1990s, they had more in common. Way more in common. There was more of the middle. And that's what makes the 90s so special, is so in the middle. And yeah, you know, there were some things that we all made mistakes, right? Everybody makes mistakes. That's humanity. But we weren't trying to hurt each other. We weren't trying to scream and yell at each other and make each other feel bad for our beliefs. You know, our philosophies. Like, I don't understand. I understand a lot of what common sense things, okay? There's common sense things that we have lost. And this will probably get me canceled, but there's a lot of common sense things we've gotten lost in, okay? And one of them is obviously that boys should not play in girls' sports, no matter if they're transitioning or not, or until they've transitioned. Okay? That's just common sense. That's not hate. That's common sense. Hate is bashing a child for thinking that they want to change from a girl to a boy or boy to a girl. That's hate. Saying that common sense is a boy, no matter if they're feel like a girl or not, should not play in girls' sports amateurly, because it's not fair. It's common sense, right? We had common sense in the 1990s and even the early 2000s. We had common sense even during the first Obama administration. So we can't blame Obama, we can't blame Bush, we can't blame Clinton, we can't blame Reagan. We can blame ourselves. We can blame what we stand for. Is we all stand on two sides of a spectrum, and the middle is afraid to speak out. Because if the middle speaks out, we're told to pick a side. When we're the biggest group of people in the world, the middle. Me, I'm fiscally conservative, which means I believe in small government. I believe that we should have eliminated the debt. I think we should eliminate a lot of waste in government spending, cut back government spending, cut back government jobs. I believe in conservative values when it comes to money, when it comes to the size of a government. But I have liberal views too. My daughter came out as lesbian. My daughter came out to me and said she likes girls. She wants to dress as a punk rocker all the time. In my opinion, socially, we should be liberal. We were socially liberal a lot in the 90s. We allowed people to live their lives the way they wanted to live them. If somebody wanted to be gay, if two men wanted to live together for the rest of their lives and have a romantic and sexual relationship, then we let them. That's their choice as human beings. They get one life to live. If that's what they want to do, we need to let go the hate of being a religious person and allow our humanity to come through. But on the other side of it, we also need to stop screaming and yelling at Christians and religious people that they're evil because they have religious values. We need to go back to where we were in the 1990s, where we were getting along. We loved our neighbor. We watched out for our neighbor. Yeah, even if they were a little weird, even if they had piercings all over their face and tattoos everywhere, and the next door neighbor was in a long dress and looked like a nun, we all got along. We all watched out for each other. We all came together as a community. We got to know each other. It was awkward at first, but we didn't try to yell and scream at each other through a box called the internet, a box called a smartphone. We went to our neighbor's house and we knocked on the door and we said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." It's a lost art in community. It's a lost way of life. And the reason why is because I went to pay attention, but attention paid me. Lil Wayne, in his rap songs, speaks so much truth to what reality is for most of us. And we don't pay attention. We just think it's a really cool beat, and we think it's just one of those things that oh yeah, look at him, he's spitting out lyrics and he's just got away with it. No, he's speaking the truth. When Lil Wayne tells you in She Will, I went to pay attention, but attention paid me, it tells you everything you need to know about why society is so fucked up. We used to say 15 seconds of fame. Now it's all about going viral. I will never go viral. Everything I have built has been a slow, organic process because I don't do these magic tricks or, shake my booty or wear a thong and bikini. I mean, I'm not that. But I try to make an impact on at least 5 people's lives a day. Because if I can make an impact on 5 people a day and change their lives for the better, that's a shit ton of people over the next 20 years. That means I could change, if everything worked out the way it's supposed to work out, I could change 2-3 million people's lives in the rest of my lifetime. And I'd be excited for that. But this, we used to use this. Yes, AI is coming. AI is already here. But instead of being scared about AI, we should be embracing AI. We embraced technology in the 1990s. Even when the Blackberries came out in the early 2000s, even when we started having better internet access with DSL or broadband, it was called broadband back in the day. Even before Google, guys, there was Ask Jeeves. If everybody remembers who Ask Jeeves is, let me know in the comments later, especially if you're watching this after the live. Love to see if anybody remembers what Ask Jeeves is. Yahoo was the biggest stock, the biggest bubble stock in the history. But we embraced technology and we embraced change and we started using things as tools. Do we still have a sect of people scared that were consumer advocates and worker advocates? Yes. But they weren't screaming into a little tiny camera at the top of their lungs saying some awkward ass shit that is going to make somebody go viral, but they don't understand the impact you're going to have on all these people that are watching you, whether you believe in the bullshit you say or not. Because we forgot how to be neighbors. We forgot how to be community. We forgot how to be together. We forgot about ourselves. We lost ourselves. If we can get back to that golden era of 1985 to 2007, if we can get back to the golden age of those 22 years of up, yes, the economy was up and down, but the golden years of us being an amazing human race. We weren't perfect, but we weren't screaming at the top of our lungs that everything's unfair. School was affordable. Student loans were affordable. Things were under control because we didn't allow shit to get out of hand. We didn't allow our governments to get so big that we feel like we have to depend on them. We depended on ourselves. We taught our children and were taught by our parents to fend for yourself. While I don't agree with modern feminism, and I will never agree with modern feminism and what they teach women, the old school feminists taught women to be independent thinkers and go make that money. Don't depend on a man. Don't depend on the government. Don't depend on someone else. Depend on yourself. And we should do that as human beings. We shouldn't depend on our government to pay our bills. We should go make our bills up. We should go enjoy our life and live within our means. And we didn't go out and try to go spend $500 on the new pair of Jordans. We went to Payless Shoes and bought our tennis shoes. When we bought something really nice like a pair of Jordans, we had one pair. And it sat in our closet and we only wore them on special occasions. Hello. We wore that stuff on special occasions and we took good care of them and we cleaned them up. We didn't store them in a closet saying they're an investment I'm going to sell in 20 years. We should embrace things again. We should embrace each other as humanity. And stop this garbage about MAGA versus liberals versus conservatives, scream and yell at high heaven about the less than 0.2% of the population of the world. They're all get out of here. Get back to common sense. Children should not be taught sex ed in 4th grade. Nobody should know about sex change operations until they're adults or getting closer to an adult. Common sense. It's okay if a 5-year-old boy wants to be in a dress and high heels when he's walking around the house. I had my grandmother, this is embarrassing as hell, but my grandmother, when I was 4 years old, she used to curl my hair like a girl, and I used to wear makeup and walk around in dresses and high heels. Now, did that mean that when I was an adult, I was going to go have a change? No. We just need to let people become them. Try out new things. Try out new foods. Try out new fashion styles. Try out a new set of music. Try out different things. You know, my daughter figuring out that she wants to like girls instead of boys. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. And who knows, when she's older, maybe when she's 19, 20, 21 years old, maybe she'll, hit from both sides of the plate, if you get my drift. Or maybe she'll change her mind and say, you know what, I don't like girls anymore, I like boys. Or maybe she'll marry a girl. I don't know. That's the beauty. She's 14 years old. At 14 years old, she's still trying to figure out who she is and find her place in the world. When I was 14 years old, in the 1990s, I was like, go get bruised, go get dirty, go eat dirt, go get scratches and bumps and bruises. Go ride your bike for miles. Go figure out who you are. Go enjoy life. Nowadays, it's go hide in a corner, son and daughter. Go play on your video game. Go play on your phone. Go watch all these weirdo videos. Go watch OnlyFans. Go watch all this shit about sex change operations. It's not go out and play. We forgot that we used to run in groups. There were still perverts and nasty, weird people in the world. There were still people driving around in brown vans. But we forget that there was the milk carton. The internet wasn't around back then as much. So kids that went missing were on milk cartons. And there were a shit ton of missing kids. Nothing's changed. What changed is we stopped running in groups. We used to, as kids in the 90s and the 80s, we used to run in groups. We used to run in packs. We used to run 6, 7 kids at a time. We were all lived on the same street in the same basic neighborhood. We all got home before it got dark because otherwise our moms were going to whoop our ass with the belt. We need to get back to what common sense is. We need to get back to our sense of humanity and our sense of community. And we need to get along, not sit there. We need to go find common ground. We need to go find ourselves again. Because when we find ourselves and we all are on the same sheet of music about a lot of things, which is the middle, then the differences between our philosophies become minute and small, and they become a debate, not a war. That's all I have to say about that.